The issue with violence in schools in Scotland is definitely out of control, and something needs to be done.
For more than a year, we've been investigating violent attacks on teachers across Britain. Now we can reveal Scotland is where the issue appears to be most acute, based on a key data set we've uncovered. We're in Inverness, in the Scottish Highlands. I'm here to meet Karen. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. She quit teaching in part because of the levels of violence, and that was among children as young as 5.
I was kicked and I was hit across the arm. I've had a lot of other situations where children have been swearing or spitting or throwing furniture in a classroom space as well.
You spat at?
Yeah, I was actually. It's not pleasant, and it's not what you expect when you go into teaching.
We've obtained figures that show in the latest 10-year period, adjusting for population size, Scotland had the highest rate of violent injuries to school staff anywhere in Britain. 490 reported to the safety watchdog. And these are only the most serious injuries, including fractures and loss of consciousness. And it's been getting worse. In the latest year's figures alone, there were 91 of these serious injuries reported in Scotland. That's 3 times worse than a decade ago and the biggest increase anywhere in Britain. We've spoken to teachers across Scotland about violence in schools. Some only wanted us to use their words or their voice. We heard from a female classroom teacher of 5 to 8-year-olds attacked while she was pregnant.
So I've had thrown at me scissors, chairs, tables. There's even been one child that's held up scissors and used language like, "I'm going to stab you." Like, that's not okay. And that's from a 5-year-old.
A male pastoral care teacher in a mainstream secondary school.
The young person kicked me, deliberately kicked me, and drew blood from my lower leg. They know that there's no consequence that I can impose upon them that will punish them.
A female support teacher in a mainstream secondary said, "A child locked me in a small room and threw chairs at my head. I woke up on the floor. I now have PTSD and a neurological disorder which caused loss of sight in my left eye and partially in my right eye." And we heard from Carol, an additional support needs teacher in North East Scotland.
They stamped on my foot really hard and they were wearing safety boots and broke one of my toes. There must be consequences for this type of behaviour. And I don't think that an apology and a chat cuts it, really.
There are concerns that a certain type of thinking has taken hold in Scottish schools that means that pupils feel they can behave disruptively and get away with it.
The perception is that pupil behaviour has deteriorated.
Lucy Dean researched behaviour in Scottish schools on behalf of the Scottish Government. Her work spelled out concerns from teachers about the use of what's called a restorative approach.
Quite a few staff talked about restorative approaches, so when a pupil's exhibiting dysregulated behaviour or distressed behaviour, they would be given techniques to de-escalate the situation, calm them down, and also more of a focus on relationships rather than consequences, helping pupils to understand their mistakes rather than using more disciplinary approaches.
There are incidents that the police would be called to if you were out in the street. You know, there are assaults, people with broken bones, bruises, etc.
We put our exclusive findings to a union leader.
Well, that's hugely disturbing to find that, and that reinforces what we hear from too many of our members, is that serious incidents of abuse and violence are not being dealt with appropriately.
A lot of schools in Scotland follow this sort of restorative approach to behaviour.
There's nothing wrong with having a cool, calm conversation with a pupil at the end of a lesson. It's appropriate for low-level disruption, not for more serious issues.
The calming down process might have meant they went out to the playground and they just kind of played about for 5 minutes, or they sat with a game or an activity or a toy.
This is the kid that's been violent?
Yes, the kid that's been violent. So to the children in the class, it's seen as, well, they're being rewarded for that behaviour. So maybe I should do that and I'll get rewarded for my behaviour too.
What else is driving this violence? Like elsewhere in Britain, COVID disruption is surely a factor. Unions also say there aren't enough staff to cope with the high number of pupils in mainstream Scottish schools with additional needs. The Scottish Government says it's published a National Behaviour Action Plan and is working on what more can be done to support pupils with additional support needs. It said it expects councils who deliver education in Scotland to implement the National Behaviour Guidance. For Scottish teachers, though, there have simply been too many violent attacks, and they want them to stop.